So thank you everybody for coming tonight. Got another one here. I appreciate you guys being here. We've had a wonderful week of the scavenger hunt that we've been running through Broomfield. We had, I think, around 128 people participating in it. So for our first year doing this, it's been like a huge success. And I think we're going to definitely try to do it again in the future, maybe something in the fall. And it might be run, maybe not by Sustainable Broomfield as the lead. It might be more by the Crescent Grange, because we were definitely helped out by their members a lot for getting the setup of all this stuff. So if you guys were participating in the scavenger hunt, thank you. It was great fun for everybody. We had lots of cool prizes to give away, so it was all great. All right, so we are recording and we are going to start off with Patrick and Kyle. Who wanted to go first of you guys, or do you want to just kind of go?
Well, we have a presentation which we're going to tag team.
Okay,
so maybe
perfect.
if we do that, that would be great. And Patrick's going to be the first one to go. So
All right.
I don't know if everyone knows Patrick. Maybe a quick introduction of Patrick would make sense.
Sure. So yeah, Patrick, I'll just give you a little brief. Patrick is with the Butterfly Pavilion, and I'm sorry, I don't know your exact title there, but if you want to go ahead and continue to introduce yourself, and if everyone else can just make sure they're muted, that would be great. And we'll go ahead and start our presentation here. Thanks, Patrick. Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. So thank you so much. Can everyone hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Good. Thank you so much for having us tonight. It's a pleasure to have an opportunity to talk about this project. It's been underway for several years now, and we are so proud of it and all that we are doing together. First, I'd like to introduce myself. I'll have Kyle introduce himself, and then I'll kind of take over and start us off as a presentation. But my name is Patrick Tennyson. I'm the president and CEO at Butterfly Pavilion. I've been with Butterfly Pavilion for many years. I believe this is 22nd year. I've been the CEO for over 10. And this project that we're working on, this Pollinator District project, is one really near and dear to my heart, and something that I'm very excited to finally see coming to fruition. So with that said, I'd like to introduce also Kyle. So Kyle, take it away.
Thanks. And I'm going to say, before I get into a real brief introduction, I did try and do a share screen. Oh, it worked that time. Okay, cool. Well, thank you for whoever did something.
Yes, I just turned it on. Sorry about that. You're good.
No, that's awesome. No, appreciate that. So again, reiterating what Patrick said, really pleased to be here and to share what's been kind of going on with the Butterfly Pavilion and with Baseline. So I work for McWhinny. My role is a general manager of our Baseline community. I've been with McWhinny for coming up on 5 years. And then in addition to the work that I'm very pleased to be involved with here at Baseline, I've also been tapped on the shoulder to help lead McWhinny's overall corporate sustainability program. So sustainability near and dear to my heart.
Nice.
So Patrick, why don't we get started?
Sure, sounds great. Again, we are so excited to be working really closely with McWhinny. They are a visionary company, really looking years and years into the future of what real estate development could look like. And Pollinator District is one idea that generated from Butterfly Pavilion as one of those ideas that, interestingly enough, was well received by Kyle and the McWhinny leadership as a possibility for what their new development at Baseline could actually look like. And Kyle's going to talk a lot about the Baseline development tonight because it is so unique and special. I'm going to tell you a little bit about pollinator districts. And pollinator districts are really by design are based on a community's absolute commitment to conserving and improving habitat, and especially for pollinators, but all wildlife for that matter, while growing and thriving as a community. It's it's about collaboration and a comprehensive engagement with partners, real estate developers and municipalities, builders, business stakeholders, just the community as a whole. It's very forward thinking. It's about looking at what a community could look like if you did everything right. So it's pretty cool in that way. And you know, prior to any shovel that goes into the ground, the groundwork is laid to ensure that pollinators are taken into consideration each step of the way, which is pretty unique and pretty special for real estate development as a whole. I mean, from an ethos perspective, I really believe it perpetuates community engagement and pride and, you know, the respect for the environment, but respect for each other and a commitment to something much bigger than just yourself, but your neighbors and your community and where your children go to school and all of those types of things. So it really builds on all of that. So it's something that pretty unique. Why pollinators? Really, the idea is that, you know, pollinators are, as you know, key to successful life on our planet. They are the key to plant reproduction and essential for agriculture crops and, you know, vegetable gardens and all of human food production in one way, shape, or much of human food production in one way, shape, or form. So they're essential. Right here in Colorado, for example, you know, we have over 900 species of bees. And over 200 and almost 250 species of butterflies that make Colorado home. Finding unique ways of surviving in different habitats and unique ecological systems that they're tailored to. Not to mention literally countless species of beetles and flies and moths that also share in the pollinator responsibilities. You know, but and to think about it, in the big picture, you know, 1/3 of all food we eat each and every day is affected by pollinators. So one in 3 bites of food that you eat is we can thank our friendly pollinators for that support. From a annual product perspective, in the United States, it's upwards of $40 billion worth of annual products that pollinators provide. All of our so many crops and so many food items that we count on. Here in Colorado, it's over $15 billion worth of agricultural products that are produced, and globally, it's upward over $500 billion. So it's so essential that these guys, what they do for our each and every day for survival. Nearly 85% of native flowering plants require pollinator services. So 85% of all flowering plants. That's a huge piece. Not to mention the role they play in many other roles in feeding other creatures, et cetera, et cetera. So so very vital for our own survival. And yet 40% of pollinator species in North America are thought to be vulnerable to extinction, or at least threatened. That's quite a bit, and it's increasing every year. We're starting to see declines in pollinator populations to the tune of they say anywhere from 0.5 to 2% decline annually in pollinator populations, and much of this is happening due to habitat loss. You know, climate change is a big one. And you know that inappropriate use of of pesticides, and indiscriminate use of pesticides is another one. And of course, the introduction of invasive species. But the big one is really, you know, climate change, and then the impact of habitat loss. So so realistically, we as a community, we as a society, we as a species, gotta wake up and pay attention to this as an opportunity for us, and not and take advantage of what we can do. And so that's where pollinator districts come in. And so my thought here is and where our idea is with McWhinny, and where Butterfly Pavilion is really focused is that, you know, preservation as a model for conservation can't be our only action. You know, you can only set aside so much land, and the reality is land will be continued to be developed as human populations continue to grow. So we can't have capitalism at odds with conservation each and every day. The two forces must evolve together. And this is where this collaborative conservation concept comes from. And this is where Pollinator District really takes shape, is working together to champion the idea of developers working shoulder to shoulder with conservation groups to make sure that pollinator populations are better, more healthier, and richer in terms of species than they were before the development took place. So this is the highlight of what we're trying to accomplish. And the idea is it's everybody's role. It's not just environmentalists' role to roll up our sleeves and figure out the solution. We need to work shoulder to shoulder with capitalism as a whole, and our teammates and our businesses can be our collaborators. So that's really the idea of Pollinator District, and what really lays the groundwork for the Baseline community and the development there.
Great. Thank you, Patrick. I think what I'd like to do now, before we get into some of the sustainability measures of Baseline, to sort of level set, as I'm not sure how many people are familiar with what it is that we're doing, just wanted to provide some context for the community, and then we'll get into some specific developments that we have underway, and then we'll show how we're permeating the Pollinator District throughout the community. So very high level, Baseline consists of 1,100 acres, of which 172 are going to be set aside as open lands. We have, this is sort of a crazy number. I don't think there's any chance we're actually going to get 17.2 million square feet of commercial space. He has like almost half of downtown Denver. But there will be, the point is there is a good amount of commercial that is anticipated for this community. It's not just residential, but we do have a significant residential area, units, 9,205 homes ultimately planned for the community. So what was really important for us, at least at McWhinny, when we look at master plan communities, we take a step back before we even start the master planning and say, well, what is this place about? What are we trying to accomplish here? And we try and make it contextual. We work with the city and the county of Broomfield and others to determine what's the ethos of the space. And after a lot of internal and external dialogue, we landed on three sort of our big pillars, our North Star for the community, which is environmental stewardship, healthy living, and innovation. And then we unpacked each of those into these sub bullets, and then there's a whole laundry list of what those mean. And so we look at these guiding principles when we're looking to develop within Baseline, and the development needs to have elements of these involved. So this is an updated version of the master plan. This is the 1,100 acres, and there are a few things I want to draw your attention to. Oftentimes we think of sustainability as, well, whether it's alternative energies or it's preserving all the green spaces, and that's certainly true, but I would argue that sustainability also starts with the overall land plan, and you can get it right from the get-go, or you can really mess up. And so we hope that we're getting it right with this plan. What's important to see is that you can kind of see it. If you can see my cursor, I'm tracing an area that we're going to be starting to master plan in another few years. But the idea is this gridded street network. So there are many ways, many points of connectivity, even back to the future, Huron Street to all our arterials. That is important because, first of all, it helps us disperse the traffic within the community better, as opposed to sort of having it all coalesce in a few streets. Why is that important? It's important because it promotes bikeability and walkability, and we can keep the majority of these streets all in here to 2 lanes. We don't have to make them big 4-lane streets. And all the data shows that when you are actually, it may sound counterintuitive, but when you can actually shrink a street, you increase the safety of that street. You increase the likelihood that people are going to walk and bike upon those streets. That's a sustainability aspect to the overall development. So another thing that we believe is important is economic sustainability, and we are trying not to create an exclusive community. And so this idea of the house for everyone, and I don't want to pretend like we're able to offer things at very, very low prices, especially post-COVID with all the challenges that we've had on the cost of raw materials. It's been very tough trying to keep things in an affordable way. But what we're trying to do is provide a large option of different residential types, anything from townhomes to duplexes to high density single family detached to apartments to rental townhomes to affordable housing rental units, affordable housing townhomes. All these things we're putting in here because we think it expands the bandwidth of product that we're able to offer the market. These are examples of 2 pocket parks that are currently under construction. Yes, it will take a while for us to get to this built environment when you've got trees of this caliber, but this is the vision. And you'll notice that in certain places, we've actually highlighted where we anticipate there being these great pockets of pollinator-friendly plants that are going to be a hallmark throughout the community. And by the way, all of our neighborhoods have pocket parks. That's one of our design ideas. This is a design idea we're implementing in our East Village, which we just broke ground on, I think 2 weeks ago. This idea of non-motorized garden ways, which are great ways for you to access the front door of your home. And it's a way that, you know, hopefully you can bump into your neighbor now that we're all getting vaccinated and can go back and be with each other again. And it also gives us a wonderful opportunity, again, to put these pockets, these significant pockets of pollinator plantings, all of which have been thought out through these various garden ways. We're experimenting, this is also part of our East Village neighborhood, with this Dutch concept of the Woonerf. It simply is a fancy planning term, which means a shared community street. So the idea is, instead of having your vehicles rule the roost, being at the apex of the who owns the street, we wanted to sort of flip that to where the pedestrians and the bicyclists have they're the ones that kind of rule the street. And so you can see here, we only have 1 throughway. It's this lane here. And then the entire other side of the street has been preserved for what's essentially a linear park. And what you can't really tell here is that this park and this linear feature connects the main park to a pocket park here on the side, and yet another one further in the distance. Connectivity is another hallmark of the plan. Here's just a view of what we anticipate it looking like at night. And this is the larger event. You may have recalled from the overall master plan, there was that green strip that bisected the property from the southwest to the northeast. That is this area, which we anticipate to be really a natural oasis in the midst of what's going to be a much more urban feeling developed area. And as this is developed here, this park, the big green, will be the first phase that we install of the park. And I should mention that this is already, the very first phase has already been under construction, because it's also serving double duty as a drainage area and as a park. And all the drainage work is currently underway if you've been driving by and seen the site. Center Street District. So this is located above the neighborhoods that I just showed. And to orient you, this is Highway 7 and this is Sheridan Road. We were working on this pre-COVID. We wanted to achieve a true mixed use environment, kind of a there for the community. This is where if you say, hey, I'm going to Baseline, chances are you're gonna go to Center Street. Well, we all put our pencils down with COVID because nobody knew which way was up and what was gonna happen. Good news is, subsequent to that, we've engaged in another market study. We think a lot of the elements that were in this plan still make sense. So this idea of having all the various asset classes and the retail cluster along this retail spine still makes sense. The idea is you want enough critical mass to where it feels good when you're in it, but you don't want so much that you've oversupplied the market and you end up with empty storefronts. And so we're picking up our pencils again on this whole area here, as well as we have not lost this idea. We're so thrilled that Center Street District is going to be anchored both by the STEM school and the Butterfly Pavilion, and more on that in just a moment. And then we're looking at these green corridors, the one that's, what would that be, southeast to northwest, and this other, the spine, which is southwest to northeast. Again, great areas for us to continue Pollinator District plantings. This is the STEM school, Adams 12 Public School, K through 12. And we recently completed negotiations both with Broomfield and Adams 12, whereby we, the developer, are carving out an additional 3 mills, which will help to go and fund this school and other Adams 12's projects. We're anticipating this school to open in 2025. What we love about the model, it's problem-based learning, and you have STEM industry partners, which actually work side by side with the students in this school. And you may say, well, that's quite a different looking school from what I'm used to. It certainly is from the one I went to growing up. And that's intentional. The idea is for this school to be very vertically oriented, and so that it feels more like industry space, because the idea here is we want to make sure that we're producing students who are well prepared for the jobs that are actually out there in the marketplace. The only other 2 things I'd mention here, the Broomfield Satellite Public Library is anticipated to have a space here, and then MindSpark Learning, which is an educational incubator, would also locate in this area. And then the school, of course, is right on the park, so it can, the educational opportunities spill right out. On the sustainability side, so this is another thing that we started pre-COVID, took a pause on it when COVID happened, but are redoubling our efforts. First of all, we want to comprehensively map our carbon footprint for all of Baseline. And as you can imagine, with a large mixed-use community, this is no easy task. And then the challenge is, how quickly can we get to net zero? And yes, we could buy carbon offsets, but I would really like to get to the point where we are less reliant upon buying the carbon offsets, and we're actually doing the design work within the community that we can minimize that. This is a huge task that is not done by any stretch. It's going to take many, many years for us to get that, but it's an important component for the overall community. We've been working through our own sustainability framework, which is centered around these 5 buckets: energy use, future-proofing, materials, water, and waste. And the goal on all of those is really threefold: reduce energy consumption, reduce water consumption, reduce our carbon footprint. And then how do we know if we've been getting there? And so recently we have engaged with Measurable, which is an online ESG, environmental, social, and governance platform. And so for each of the McWhinny owned buildings, and we're going to try and do it for non-owned as well, you have these utility sync functions when all the utility information, the water information, automatically goes into this platform, and it will compare how we're doing, not only against our other properties in our own portfolio, but against a portfolio across the entire country. I'm including this building because some of you may be aware we've got a fulfillment center that's come into the community. You may say, well, how did that one squeak by the guiding principles? Well, it did so because we worked really hard with a tenant to say, how are you going to meet our environmental sustainability pillar. And they're doing it by, number one, all the plantings are pollinator friendly and using xeric species and native species. The entire roof is going to contain PV panels so that there will be production, solar production, electrical production on the full 203,000 square feet of that roof. And then the entire van fleet is going to be electric. And so we've been installing all the infrastructure to support that. Another group that we are working with, we have not finalized this, but if you're familiar with, if you ever get down to Rhino in Denver and Inuchi, there right above it is a 7,000 square foot greenhouse, and they use hydroponic technology for the growing of greens. And the CEO is Sally Herbert, and we're working with her to locate a much larger version of this within the Baseline community, because we love the idea of having your food produced on site, being able to be used in the streets, in restaurants in Center Street District, perhaps in the STEM school itself. And I should mention there's a whole STEM curriculum associated with this type of food production. Then what we are so excited about is Patrick and his team and their commitment to move over and create a new facility over at Baseline. This is really going to be a crown jewel, and I'm going to let Patrick talk a little bit more of that. I certainly don't want to steal the thunder, but this is a cross-section view of what we anticipate that facility to look like. And it is located directly next to the STEM school, because there are already research projects being done between kids in Adams 12 and the horticulturalists and entomologists of the Butterfly Pavilion. And we just think that's going to be such a strong relationship between those two institutions. Here's a view of it looking down. You can see this is the STEM school just below. So again, very close proximity between the two. And these, again, were the only two buildings that we allowed to be in the park because we thought it was so important that education spills out of the building and continues into these green areas within the park. Then Pollinator District, this somewhat technical slide is simply to say we have taken townhomes, duplexes, and working with Amy Yarger, the Butterfly Pavilion, she's on our DRC, our design review committee, and Jim Tolstrup of the High Plains Environmental Center, we're actually templating all these plants so that they are in a cadence and they're the types of plant material that support pollinators. So very intentional, and all our residential has to do this. As a matter of fact, everybody who comes through, which is everybody who wants to develop a baseline, goes through this process of determining what the plantings are going to be. And then when we look at, if you can see my cursor on the left-hand side, tree lawns, the defaults for tree lawns is typically spray irrigated Kentucky bluegrass, which I will tell you is not a sustainable way of doing your tree lawns if you acknowledge that we're in a high plains arid environment. And so we're changing that, and we're going to have these combinations of sort of crusher fines or small rock mulch in areas, and in alternating areas we're going to have the Butterfly Pavilion, or sorry, the Pollinator District plants on drip irrigation. So you're not going to see any of that spray stuff, which is so inefficient. That has the benefit of reducing our anticipated water consumption. This is done by our water engineers relative to similar communities, reducing it by 51%, which is huge. And we're very proud of that and look forward to continuing that throughout the community. So the last few slides, I'm turning it back over to Patrick. You may wonder, well, why are we doing this Pollinator District thing? Why do we believe in it? Why is it important from a developer's perspective? Well, first of all, it is consistent with our guiding principles, and that is super important. We've learned a lot from our work with Patrick on the decline of pollinators, and believe that that is almost an existential threat to human beings. And so to have an opportunity to be part of the solution, and it's a big experiment, let's be clear, this is, some parts of it are going to work, some maybe not so much, but we're going to have an opportunity to pivot as we go through this, because we're going to be working in lockstep with the Butterfly Pavilion, and we have the kids in the STEM school who are going to be able to help us out with this as well. And at the end of the day, having the Pollinator District throughout the community is a way of differentiating and, quite frankly, unifying our community in ways that others may not be doing now, But our goal, certainly Patrick's and my goal, is that let's show Baseline as a proof of concept, and let's blow this thing out so that it can be not just at Baseline. And of course, lowering irrigation water is a huge importance in Colorado. So my last slide, this image on the right-hand side, I think just sums it up for me, how so many things at Baseline are connected. And yeah, so we believe that the Pollinator District that was foundational to everything we do and related to all these elements of the community. So with that, I am going to turn it back over to Patrick. And Patrick, just give me a sign when you want me to advance the slides, if you could.
Sounds great, Kyle. So as you can see, I mean, this is not your normal everyday neighborhood. This is pretty well thought out, and this is pretty innovative. It's extremely forward thinking and really truly engaging of what people are looking for in future development. I think McWhinny is visionary, and you know, we're so proud to be working with them because of that vision. Their receptiveness to this ecological friendly solutions for development was you know, just so wonderful and welcomed. And it really really inspired us to take some leaps that, you know, for us, we weren't even sure if we were ready for. So it's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting stuff. So go ahead, Kyle. So some pillars that Kyle has spoken about in great detail. I'll give a couple additional points, but you know, sustainable living is a key piece. You know, after the investment that we make early in, that's significantly less water, less ongoing maintenance, super important stuff. Initially, you know, and the initial investment is not only within 2% of what it would be from a traditional approach. So it's not like it's going to break the bank to even approach it like this. So it's just being really forward with your thinking and doing it before and doing that the planning before you ever break ground. Public education and engagement, as we talked, we're going to be Butterfly Pavilion, you know, prides itself on being that community resource, and having the STEM school right next door, we'll take it to a whole nother level. Habitat restoration and gardening, we will be that, again, that resource for the community to teach everyone how to do that, while at the same time restoring habitat everywhere in and around the area. We've got programs like the Urban Prairies Project that Janice is involved with, that Amy heads, that is already doing very unique habitat restoration efforts in our open spaces throughout Broomfield. This will be the model that then perpetuates this effort. And of course, the pollinator research, it's already underway. McWhinny was keen on the idea of doing initial evaluation of pollinator habit or pollinator health and well-being in and around that area to create what we call a baseline of knowledge and understanding of the health and well-being of pollinator species currently. And then as we begin building it out, building out the development and continue to evaluate, again, with our students, colleagues at Adams 12 School District and our community partners and in community engaged science and citizen science, we will be able to evaluate the overall growth and health and well-being of the pollinator populations after development. So this is pretty cool stuff. Go ahead. So the pollinator protection, you know, it will drive, it was supported by economic growth, but achieving multiple conservation goals. The 70-acre park that lies behind Butterfly Pavilion in the STEM school that runs south, I believe that's southwest to northeast. 70-acre park, that's almost as big as City Park in downtown Denver. So if you can think about a significant swath of land that's dedicated to wildlife corridors and a commitment to the movement of wildlife, especially pollinators up and down and through the neighborhoods. This will be as Kyle mentioned, an oasis for the pollinators. Also moving forward, that urban-rural interdependence with these parks and connecting to people's backyards and front yards and that approach. And of course, as Kyle pointed out, native plant use, super important for our dry, arid environment. And then with the STEM school being right on the same campus, we'll be working each and every day. The Butterfly Pavilion will be a programming center for both the community as well as the children's use and the K-12 schools use of our facility. Think of it as a living classroom for these students each and every day to solve problems, work with scientists, learn how to be a scientist as they are facing some of our international problems that are facing us with pollinator protection as well as invertebrate protection globally and biodiversity. So these will be efforts that will be taking place each and every day. You can go ahead and move on, Kyle.
I may have advanced it just a touch early, so I think we're on pollinator proliferation now.
Okay, great. Again, you know, thank you. The whole idea here is Butterfly Pavilion is the world's only standalone invertebrate zoo accredited by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. So we hold that responsibility each and every day, and we cherish that responsibility. We believe, working with other zoos around the world right now, we believe that we have an obligation to lead the rest of the zoological community in the idea of pollinator as well as invertebrate protection and invertebrate conservation. So a lot of this work that's going to happen in Baseline and the Pollinator District ties right into our some of our global work. We are currently working on projects on California, a California Dunes project right now with the Bureau of, Department of Interior on pollinator assessments in the coastal dunes environment in California. So this work already perpetuates some of the work that's already being done. And a lot of the skill set and talents that will be applied here with our friends with McWhinny and the citizen science work that is already taking place in Urban Prairies Project and our butterfly monitoring project in and around the Front Range, dragonfly monitoring project, all ties to the idea that with all of this science coming together at Baseline, we'll be able to ensure pollinator proliferation and be able to replicate that model going forward. Go ahead. So in 2015, Butterfly Pavilion launched what we call the PACE initiative, which is pollinator awareness through conservation education. So again, this increases our importance in pollinator protection and promotes habitat conservation. You know, it's funded already by collaborative conservation methodology. the idea that our friends up north at Local Hive, which used to be Rice's Honey, provides a portion of proceeds from every bottle of honey they sell across the United States, actually across the globe. They provide a percentage of that profit to us to promote pollinator protection. So it's that type of collaborative conservation that will continue on to perpetuate our 25 years of conservation work already. Go ahead, Kyle. Again, creating benchmarks. We believe this area will be the first of its kind, establishing benchmarks for urban landscape and invertebrate conservation. We'd like to perpetuate this and take this to other developers and other cities and states around the United States, and ensure that this is a new era, a new approach to conservation, teaming up with friends in the business community and ensuring there's engagement across the board. Go ahead. Some of our partners right now, of course, you can see here are vast. We believe in this group of folks. City and County of Broomfield got behind this project early on, made a very generous investment in the building that we plan to build. MindSpark Learning, as Kyle said, will be right across the way at the STEM school. Colorado State University, we hope to help us with the research lab and research center, and of course Adams 12 being right there. Broomfield Open Space Foundation, ultimately we hope to be able to have a nature center, a local nature center built right into our new facility. So, and run by and facilitated by the Broomfield Open Space Foundation. So there's a lot of partnership here, and we we hope to be a living model for how conservation is done in the future. Go ahead, Kyle. And last, the facility itself, as Kyle mentioned, we hope to build a new home for Rosie the tarantula and all of our invertebrate friends, right? Rosie's been a fan favorite for years and years, and you know, the first children held Rosie long before even Butterfly Pavilion was built, as a outreach program from CU Boulder. Rosie would go from school to school and meet kids, and kids would learn the importance of connection with these very misunderstood creatures. But now this new center, $55 million state-of-the-art facility, we hope to open fall of 2025. This 80,000 square foot facility will have biome discovery. So biomes across the world will find their home at Butterfly Pavilion, telling the story of importance of conserving habitat and connecting sustainable business ideas to conservation globally, like our new butterfly farm that we are building currently in Sumatra. The proceeds of that butterfly farm is going to save rhino populations and protect and fund the park rangers that protect the vanishing Sumatran rhino. So these are partnerships that we're doing right now that will continue to perpetuate out from this facility, as we will be the preeminent local and global hub for invertebrate conservation and inspiration. We will be the jewel of the invertebrate community, and for and for conservation as a whole, as we again carry the responsibility of being that global zoological entity here in Baseline, Colorado. So very excited about this project. Again, will be a very exciting 4 or 5 years to recruit friends and recruit business partners, recruit philanthropists to help us see this vision to fruition. We are excited about the idea of being that leader. We have built up over the last 25 years to be that that zoological resource, and this pollinator district is an example of the innovation that will lead long into the future. So that's really what we have for you. Thanks for your support and willingness to hear us out, and excitement about the project. We're ready to take any questions. Or comments.
Hi. Hey, Patrick and Kyle, thank you so much. This was awesome. I dropped a question in the comments. I don't know if you saw it.
I just noticed it. Yep.
Yeah, this is Craig, by the way. I just wanted to ask you a little bit more about Baseline specifically, and some of the especially energy related aspects. Like, are you planning to have your builders sell houses with solar panels included? Have you had any discussions on all electric homes or buildings? And then, any community owned solar for some of the denser homes?
Yeah, all good questions. So the answer, it kind of depends on which builders we're talking about. For some of our builders, there is, well, we're all sustainable and and we believe them, but we've been trying to hold their feet to the fire by continually reducing the HERS ratings that we are accepting. And so with our Southlands neighborhood, all the builders there will have to meet 40 HERS or lower, which is not, that is well below what folks seem to be doing from a market perspective now. We have encouraged but have not required our builders to have solar ready in their homes. And one of the home builders that we have, and this is why I said it kind of depends, Thrive Home Builders is one of the groups that we are working with both in our West Village neighborhood and our Southlands neighborhood. I think their HERS rating is maybe 20, maybe even less than that. And they are models of sustainability. So I can't speak to whether Gene's going to offer specifically solar, but I know all of them are solar ready. And so I would hold them up as an example of a group that is going far more toward that electric idea. The challenge that we have is that a lot of our homes, because it's higher density, we have a lot of attached housing with multiple meters. It's not to say that that can't be figured out. It just makes it more challenging. It also makes it challenging that not all of the homes are south-facing or the roofs are south-facing. So what we've found is that it may actually be more advantageous for us to do green power purchasing through United Power. So our community is one of the few actually in Broomfield that's within United Power's service district, as opposed to Xcel Energy. We get the natural gas is Xcel, but the electric is United Power. And so we've actually been working with the city of Broomfield to consider, and some of you may be involved with that, but it sounded like it was getting some traction to have all of the street lights and all of those assets that we would normally build and convey to Broomfield, to have those be powered through the green power purchasing arrangement that that United Power does. Because I don't know, United Power for an electric co-op, they're actually somewhat progressive, and they have both on their own account. They've got solar farms and they've got wind farms, and they also purchase that from other areas. So that's probably the more economical way for us to get the green power in the community. Hopefully that sort of answers the question, maybe.
Yeah, I live in United Power area too, so
Okay.
I get that, you know, they do a pretty good job, and they actually have battery storage facilities also. So as far as utilities go, they're pretty good. It would be great if
The low bar.
if you could completely do without Excel by not using natural gas, it would be even better. You know, but I appreciate it, Kyle. I think, you know, all the stuff you're doing is great. Unfortunately, natural gas is an issue, and it's not an easy one to get around, but we got to figure it out somehow.
Agreed. Oh, there's another question that I see in the chat. It's why are we using crusher fines rather than AstroTurf? It's a good question. I would say part of it is aesthetics. I suspect that we will be using AstroTurf in certain portions of the community, and think dog parks, where you actually can put the AstroTurf in, or the fake grass, and at the end of the evening you can actually hose it down and through a nice drainage system that helps with unpleasant smells that you get in a dog park. But I don't think the AstroTurf aesthetically was really the look that we were going for in our tree lawns. And we've seen beautiful examples of different rock. You can actually do designs in the rock. It can be done aesthetically pleasing in a way that I think probably hits the mark for what we're looking for a little bit more than AstroTurf. The next question in the chat is about studies to minimize light pollution.
I have some thoughts on that.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Patrick.
Well, I think you can speak to the studies and the work that's going on. I can kind of share a little bit about what Butterfly Pavilion is currently doing and the value of the work that we're seeing. As you know, as most everyone knows, light pollution can be really detrimental to wildlife. Moth populations are, significantly influenced. On the coasts, our sea turtle populations and many of our migratory species of fish and mammals are affected by light pollution. So it's definitely something the zoological community is looking at really closely. And as we would build our facility, we would go to Broomfield with ideas of working through minimizing light and ensuring light is downward instead of outward. But I bet Kyle has some insights on the development itself.
Well, yes, and light pollution has been identified at Broomfield as a whole as a challenge, and I believe there are night sky protections in place. One of the most recent examples where we worked on this very intentionally was with that fulfillment center project that I mentioned, and we had done a light study measuring all the lumens that would be seen outside of the project, and worked very carefully with the tenant to ensure that that was well beneath even Broomfield standards. And as you mentioned, Patrick, certainly having lights downcast is very, very important. But then we also have to, especially in commercial areas, sort of balance the need for the night sky and that downcast, there still has to be some light for purposes of safety. When you've got people who may be getting off a shift later at night, you still want to make sure that they can see where they're going, but it doesn't have to be lit up like Coney Island. So yes, everything that we do is the light studies are part of it. We're even looking into some of our parks to see, to keep with the downlighting, can you actually mount the lights further up in the tree, but have them downcast as to what is typically the case, at least in other developments, when you put it at the ground level and then focus it up. There's one that might be for you, Patrick. It's the idea on geothermal heating potentially for the butterfly pavilion. I'm not sure if that's something your consultants have considered.
We have completed our first phase of design work, conceptual design. And during that period, geothermal definitely came up as an opportunity for us, and will be, as we go into schematic phase and we start actually putting square footage to or dollars and price per square foot to the equation, that is where I think we will begin looking and valuing all the different opportunities for sustainable approach to heating, and especially with our conservatory. It was a resounding thought that we would consider it seriously for the conservatory, because as well as solar, because realistically we will have a lot of glass, and with that we have got to find a way to minimize the greenhouse effect that will naturally take place. And different strategies will of course be employed that what normally would be employed. So yes, for sure, just it's early in the conversation. And as I say, we get into schematic and design documents, I think that's where those sorts of ideas will be more or considered more in depth.
Any other questions? Just looking at the chat, I don't see any here.
Hi, I just had a brief question. My name's Elise. I am a part of Sustainable Broomfield, and I was just wanting to ask about the framework that you talked about earlier, Kyle, in regards to waste. I'm just curious for what Baseline is planning to do as far as, the demolition recycling, and what service you're using for that. So I was just curious about that.
Well, that's a good question. And we're looking at waste in two broad categories. One, as you noted, is definitely construction waste and how we can minimize that. And then of course, the other is ongoing waste production. And to what extent can we employ recycling, which we actually do now. We are now able to offer, as well as composting, that I'm looking forward to being able to offer once we get a critical mass. And unfortunately, the service providers, I haven't gotten a really clear answer as to what does a critical mass look like for composting. And then the other element I would add is that on the measurable, the ESG platform that I had mentioned, waste is another measured output, so that we can look over time and determining how are we doing on our ongoing operations. But relative to the construction waste, we're relying heavily on a lot of the LEED standards for how they measure how you're dealing with construction waste. And the way it would work is that each of our individual, we call them vertical developments, would have to come back through my group and waste would be one of the umbrella evaluation criteria, and they would have to come back to us and say, I see, here's the framework of how you're minimizing construction waste. This is what you're requiring. Here's how we intend to meet that element of the program, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, I was just curious. So does that look like using a specific service provider like Waste Management, and they would be working with you guys to do that demolition recycling, or is that specific to construction? I'm sorry, I'm ignorant in the topic.
No. And I'm not entirely sure I have a good answer. I think it's going to be any number of service providers. I don't think we're sort of locked into Waste Management, and our vertical teams will determine who they're going to select.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think we're necessarily locked into a particular provider.
So just from what I'm hearing you mention, you might use different services dependent on what you're looking to accomplish. So demolition recycling might look like different from, post, offering recycling bins and compost.
I think that's right.
Okay, gotcha. All right, that was all my questions. Thank you.
And Elise, am I still on? Can everyone hear me?
Mhm.
Yeah, good. Interestingly enough, Kyle and I just had an opportunity to chat this week and chatted a little bit about what continuing education and support systems might exist in and around the Baseline area via support system for the HOA system and those groups, and how those services might end up being, supported by Butterfly Pavilion, ultimately being a home for training on how to compost, training on light pollution and alternatives, being that resource for the community on recycling and different strategies around recycling, and how we could build that out to be no waste type events and no waste type community. Anyway, this is the kinds of things that I think Butterfly Pavilion, being a resource, an educational resource for Baseline community, can be a real asset in perpetuating some of these sustainability goals.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Thanks for explaining that.
I do have a question. My name is Sheila. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a philosophy terminology being discussed a lot these days called circular economy. My understanding of that is, or at least part of that includes, choosing partners that try to utilize a circular economy model for their for the items that they produce. In other words, rather than something that's linear, that basically breaks after a certain period of time and lands in the landfill, there's a push for manufacturers to take their products more seriously, to build, to last, to create replaceable parts, to offer repair services, to take at the end of life that product and have some sort of a end of life process for that product. And so I'm just wondering if you're familiar with that, and if that's something that you're considering when you're, partnering up with various builders, manufacturers of maintenance equipment, and so on and so forth.
I will confess that I've heard the term, but I have not heard it described as well as you just did, Sheila. So thank you for that. I would be lying if I said that was a criteria by which we evaluated who we brought into the community. It is not. What we are trying to do, however, especially with our builder partners, is to continue on things. I think I'd mentioned earlier, the HERS rating, which is not, that doesn't get to nearly the holistic approach that you just described. So my sense is, as we look at our overall carbon footprint and we start looking at embedded carbon and those ideas about, well, is it circular? Is the reuse there so it is not waste? I think those conversations are going to come more to the forefront than they have been so far. But I think that's a more advanced view than admittedly where we are right now.
Well, hopefully that description has piqued your interest. Something
sure.
to further research and consider.
Yeah, well, it's something I'd love to talk with Gene Myers over at Thrive to see how he's working through that.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It feels a lot like the way our great grandparents grew up.
You got it. You got it.
You know,
exactly.
And a lot we can learn from that day and age and the commitments that were made to buying something that lasts. So, and looking at something that lasts. And today that's probably going to cost a little bit more money, but the investment is there for the long term and in the for the long run. So pretty exciting stuff. And I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys. This has been a wonderful presentation. And for anybody who joined us later, earlier and before after we had started, I'm Brianna with Sustainable Broomfield, and we are recording this and we are going to post it on our YouTube page so that people can come back and watch it and like read through all the slides if they need to, if they would like to, and view all the details in more in depth if they would desire. But thank you guys so much, Kyle and Patrick. This has been wonderful presentation, and I'm really excited about this community. So I think it's going to be a wonderful addition to Broomfield and really get us on the right foot towards being a more sustainable community. So
well, we appreciate the opportunity, and thank you all so much. Great questions, and yeah, it's exciting. Appreciate your active engagement.
Yeah, super inspiring evening. So thank you for your time, and we look forward to it too. Thank you.
All right, no problem. So our next presenters are Ross and Stephen, and they have a new small business in Broomfield called NextUse. So Ross, I'll let you guys just take it away, and you can share your screen if you have a presentation or just talk, whatever.
Okay, perfect. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Ross, and Stephen, my business partner, on the line here. So we with NextUse Recycling and Composting. And funny enough, I'm not sure if Patrick and Carl are still on, but I actually just moved into the Baseline community 3 weeks ago. For a lot of the reasons that they mentioned, the sustainability, the forward thinking, so I just moved in here, Carl, and loving it. I'm really excited to see what's going to be coming up in the next few years. And my kids are super excited for the Butterfly Museum and the STEM. Hopefully, get my son into the STEM school there. So very exciting. We actually just had, we've been in negotiation with Park 40, which is their, the apartment building. I believe it's over 300 units in the Baseline community. So we're hoping to partner with them for their composting needs. And yeah, great. Thank you for doing it, Carl. Appreciate the work.
And if I can, Ross, I'm excited to learn more because we have in discussions with other service providers have been told, especially relative to the composting, you just don't have enough critical mass. Talk to us when there's some, I don't know, 500 units there. And I'm not talking about the apartments necessarily. So would love to chat with you more about the service offerings that you have and see how we could maybe figure that out.
Perfect. No, I'd love that. Thank you, Carl.
If you guys want to each put your emails in the chat, then everybody can contact you if they have questions or something as well.
All right, great. So I'm gonna switch over then we got a presentation here, so that probably doesn't match what Patrick and Kyle did, but hopefully we could show you something there. So, NextUse, recycling and composting. Who we are, what we do, etc. And so myself and Steve, we are the co-founders. We actually both grew up in South Africa. I've been here for about just over 11 years in Colorado. And the reason why we started NextUse, a couple of reasons, but both of us grew up, wanting to give back to the community, wanting to be involved, wanting to make a difference. Growing up in a third world country has really given us a different mindset than I think what most people have. And with that, we both feel very fortunate for where we are, and so we want to give back and make a change. I professional wise, I'm from the finance industry, and banking and financing. So I don't have a background in any recycling or composting or anything, but again, we wanted to make a difference, and this is where Steve and I got together, and started putting our ideas on paper and eventually forming NextUse. So we started NextUse last year. It took a while to get up and running, but our mission ultimately is to make low waste living easy and to connect recyclables and composting to their next use, and really to reduce the amount of material and waste that goes into our landfills, which all of you know can be very harmful to the environment. With that, Steve, if you want to jump in there as well.
Yeah, thanks. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
I just want to just hammer home on the, why we sort of started this business. I just, both Ross and I, we're on the same page, we think alike, and there was just a lot of people talking about all the problems and how bad it is. And we were just like, we need to just do it. We need to just start something and actively tackle these problems and start providing solutions. Colorado is historically and currently really bad at recycling and composting, or just landfill diversion. We divert less than, our diversion landfill rates are less than 16%. So it's really bad. And Colorado, when you think about it, you've got the mountains, it's beautiful, there's skiing, the first thing that comes to your mind is that Colorado must be really progressive. But we're in the bottom 20% of the nation for landfill diversion rates, which is really bad. We want to put a face to the name. We want to be approachable. We don't want to just be that huge waste company that's been doing the same thing over and over, and almost expecting different results, expecting it's going to get better. But it's not. It's the same problems. So we are coming in and we're almost like reimagining what it takes to be a recycling and composting company. And we'll get further into the weeds as we go along in the slides. But we're dedicated to the cause. We're not just a large corporation dumping trash in a landfill, because that's easy. We're spending a lot of time, late into the evening, sorting, recycling, making sure it's going to the right piles, etc. So we're dedicated to what we do. We love chatting with like-minded people. I know I tend to go on quite a bit of a tangent when I start getting involved in this and start talking about it, because I feel good about it. I feel good about the work that we're doing, and hopefully everyone will leave here with a sense of who we are and what we're about. So just, obviously it's in the name, NextUse, recycling, composting. These are two major points that we that we do. There's slight differences on them that set us apart from other large companies and other smaller companies. So we work with anyone, really. So we do your townhomes, condos, single family homes. We talk with property management companies to do entire apartment complexes. And we do commercial businesses as well. So everything is a tailor-made custom plan specific to your needs. When it comes to your apartments and your single family homes, we offer what you see there. So it's a 14-gallon bin on the left and a 3.3-gallon bin on the right for composting. You know, during our months of testing and everything, we tested multiple different size bins, etc. And then these are the two that we've really thought hit the mark. So this is what you get. This is what we do. With our recycling, obviously we do the single stream recycling. So that's, you know, everything from plastic, glass, cardboard, paper, etc. And we also do plastic bag, plastic film recycling. So any bubble wrap, those air pillows, Amazon plastic shipping envelopes, we take those as well as like grocery bags or anything that comes sort of wrapped in plastic. Like if you buy a whole bunch of toilet rolls and they come in a plastic bag, we take that bag. You know, anything, furniture that comes wrapped in plastic, any sort of bag or film, we take, and that comes with your recycling service. Now, for the composting, we offer that as an add-on. So someone can either just do composting as a standalone, or they can do composting with your plastic add-on. You know, we're really proud of the fact that we offer that because, you know, curbside recycling doesn't take it. The large companies don't take the plastic recycling. So the recycling that we offer, I think, is streets ahead of what anyone else can. And the fact that we do an initial sort ourselves, so we're basically guaranteeing you that the waste that you're putting in your recycling is going to be recycled. It's not going to be just dumped in a landfill, because unfortunately that's the case with these larger companies who offer like a roll-off service or a dumpster service where it's, you know, if it's contaminated with a bit of trash, they'll just trash the whole lot, which is such a shame. Because if you look at someone's like bag of trash, you know, at least 40 to 50% of that is recyclable. So we want to step into areas that typically don't have access to recycling. People who want a slightly better service, you know, especially with our composting, we provide you with a fresh bin every week. So you never have to worry about cleaning your bins out. If it's, you know, if you get a fresh one every week, and we offer a much larger range of composting, so materials that can be composted. So it's everything from your organic matter, your fruit and veg, to meat, to bones, to butter, to vegetable oils, so food oils, compostable surfaceware, paper towels, egg cartons. We take quite a bunch, and we're really proud to be able to say that the services that we provide are taking away sort of waste that goes to landfill. So a bit about us, why you should choose us. We have done a lot of work to get up and running. We've consulted with lawyers to make sure that we're 100% good to go. You know, we're the only licensed Colorado-based company that offers door-side recycling and composting. You know, unfortunately, there are people out there who aren't licensed. We have stuck to all the municipal codes for all the cities, and we're proud of it. We're proud to be able to say that we've done it correctly. We've done the legwork to empower you as our client to make the right choices and to feel comfortable, to feel good about those choices. So we're excited. We're excited to just get going and to, you know, educate along the way and make sure that, you know, your compost and your recycling are actually being recycled and composted and not just trash. We want you to know the full life cycle. You know, as our name suggests, we want your products to have their next use. So, and not just tossed into the landfill.
Yeah, thanks. And Steve,
Okay.
also just to mention, we talk about, wanting to reuse the material and give it its next use. And our recycling bins are actually made from recycled plastic. So, we obviously want to follow or lead by example in that regard as well. So, with a client, we have a couple different ways of becoming clients. But our process, we try and make it easy as possible. And we want to work to everyone's needs. We're not one of those companies here, this is our service, you take it or leave it. We want to be flexible. And the reason being is because we want to offer, we want to expand the accessibility to people who generally don't, or in the past have not had access to recycling and composting. So we work with, again, as Steve mentioned, HOAs, property management, but then also just as important is the individual. So our process is very simple to get up and get going and to get set up. So, obviously going onto our website, NextUse or next-use.com, being able to sign up straight from there. It's a very easy sign up process. We will arrange with all our clients to drop off our compost or recycling bins, and our compost bins are the 3.5 gallons and recycling bins are the 14 gallons. As you saw from probably the previous slide on our bin, it has the flip top lid, which is easy for opening and closing. We've noticed some other bins that we used in the past, which were the round tubs almost, that were a little difficult to open and close with the latch. So we really look for a bin that's easy to use, and then obviously seals tight, because I've got young kids. Steven's got a young daughter, and we've got dogs and animals that want to get into the bins, but we want them to seal tight and to stop any odors. My bin lays out and the dogs don't even notice it, and they don't notice any odor or anything like that. So once you receive the bin, obviously you fill it up, and then we ask that you leave it out on your front door the morning before pickup. So we generally come by early in the morning. One of our staff will swing by your house or your apartment or business. And that is on we offer a weekly pickup service. Businesses are slightly different because their needs may be a little bit more. So again, we're working with the individual, with the business to meet their needs. For our compost bins, we obviously don't want to leave you with a dirty bin. So we will actually swap out our bins. So we'll give you a nice, clean, fresh one, and we'll take your filled one away and clean that bin out. And obviously we always want to work or act with respect, professionalism, and cleanliness. So we'd never leave a site, with recycled material. If the wind blows some of the recycled material, we'll make sure we clean that up. We always make sure that your residence is always looking clean, and that we are not doing anything to change that. And yeah, so our process is very simple. We try and make it as easy as possible. Obviously, there's some individuals who aren't able to do all these steps or have difficulty, but we want to work with them. We want to work with everyone to be able to. We don't believe that anyone should be cut out or discriminated against or not have access to because of one reason or another. We want this to be all inclusive. Everyone needs to put their part in to make a difference for our community and for our environment. And then speaking of community, we are big believers of not just being your composting or recycling partner, but we want to do more. We want to give back to the people we work with. We want to give back to the communities we live in. And one of our really big differentiator is our education. We love setting up just like this for doing webinars or virtual workshops, Q&A sessions. When we have large communities that sign up all together, or communities that are looking for some information, we're more than happy to set up some time where we could meet either virtually or in person, and have a session to talk about the importance of composting, the importance of recycling, what can be composted and recycled. What do you do with this? What do you do with that? So education is definitely a big component of what we do. And we really believe that the more education, the better we could be as, or to further our communities and further our environmental impact. We also partner with local volunteer teams. We do community cleanup days. We volunteer. We want to set up volunteer opportunities and urban gardens. So we want to be a part of the community. We're not just a company that's there. We want to be a part, and we want to give back. And then through our composting, we are able to not only take your compost material, turn it into compost, but providing that back to you as premium soil to use in your gardens at home, community gardens, etc. So we want to be able to give that back as well. And then lastly, connecting our customers with brands and products that we trust, because it's not only about recycling or composting. It's more, there's a lot that we could do in our day-to-day lives that could make a difference. And that's part of the education. We want to be able to present those opportunities and give other people the ideas to be successful in this regard. So yeah, with that, we'd love to have any further questions, and we appreciate the few minutes that we got to spend telling you about us and NextUse and why we do it. And but you feel free to ask any questions now. Visit us on our website or on our social media. Give us a call, and yeah, thank you very much again.
Thank you, Ross. I had a question. So you said you give compost back to your customers?
Yeah, so we could work with our customers on either depending on the situation, getting that compost as soil back, to use for your community gardens or for individual gardens.
Got it. I didn't know if you had like a specific amount or something that you give back to customers each year, or if they buy it back from you guys or something like that.
Yeah, so a bit of both. It depends on the situation. Oftentimes it's clients would buy it back at a very reduced rate than what we'd normally sell it to a commercial farmland, for example. And in some non-profit situations, we would actually provide some of that material back, as a donation, so to speak.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions?
See, there's a question in the chat. Sorry, I'll just quickly get it. It's a short question. What areas do you currently serve? So we're currently licensed in Broomfield, Boulder County, Denver, and Westminster. But we're always looking to expand. So, with enough people in a specific area, we'd absolutely love to help out.
I think there's definitely a lot of interest in Broomfield from people, and especially like all over Broomfield. So we'll definitely try to pass your name around to people, because there have been people looking for trying to get composting started at their facilities, their residences. All right.
Perfect. I think Sheila had a hand up.
Yeah, just one quick question. So in terms of the recycle aspect, I know that having a relationship with, I mean, there's got to be, what do you call it? You've got to have a partnership with businesses that can take the recycled goods and recycle them, right? So
yeah,
are there times when you, for example, if there's no market, that's what I'm looking for. If there's no market for styrofoam, do you stop taking in styrofoam from your customers, or same thing with cardboard? Or
so styrofoam is a bit of a weird one. Styrofoam is almost considered like its own standalone item. A lot of places don't take styrofoam, and a lot of places just put it in the landfill. We unfortunately don't take styrofoam as of right now. Our recycling materials will just consist of your single stream recycling, as well as your plastic bag and plastic film recycling.
But it's based on market. That's my point, right?
Yeah, I mean, everyone might know here, China stopped taking a lot of the recyclables from pretty much everywhere in the world. But that has caused an uptick in a lot of plants here in America that are starting back up again. So we partner with the Boulder Recycling Center, and we got a very good relationship with them. And I think 89% of their material gets sold on, and I think it's only about 11% that goes to trash, just from this pure point of people putting the wrong thing in the bins, which we then try and step in front of that and try and educate people about the correct items to put in the bin, and then cutting down on your use, your waste. There's not going to be the perfect solution or the perfect person who does everything correctly, but we want to try and provide as many different options and opportunities for people to feel good about what they do in their price point, everything. So we want to stress that it's like a tailored approach, and the more items we can take, like styrofoam, we will take down the line.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Awesome.
Kyle.
Do you have one question?
Yes, probably several. So first, I have to ask the economic question. And if you're the only ones that offer composting, then I suppose your pricing is not relative to other groups. But are there other groups out there that are currently offering composting? Or maybe, again, my frame of reference is, there has to be a certain critical mass. So I'm just curious to know, have you benchmarked your pricing against others that do offer composting, and where do you stand there? That'd probably be my first question. The second one is, in any given neighborhood in Broomfield, if one person said, yeah, I'd really like to do that, would you be able to serve them? Or do you need to have, again, some minimum number before it makes economic sense to do so?
So I'll step in on that one. So I guess to answer the questions maybe together. So yes, we've obviously, there are other competitors that we have. However, what really set us apart is the amount of extra materials or compostable materials and recycling that we accept compared to our competitors. So we accept more materials than any of our competitors. So having that advantage there, which makes it easier for our clients to say, is this compostable or recyclable? Is it not? Obviously, you have to know if on general terms, but we are able to offer a lot more there. And even though we offer the ability to compost and recycle more, compared to our competitors, we are mostly underpriced compared to all of them. And the reason we did that is not, Stephen and I did not get into this business to make as much profit as possible. We got into it because we wanted to make a difference. We wanted it to be able to offer it to more people, allow more accessibility to people. So we didn't want to outprice our services, to make it unaffordable to a lot of residents or individuals. And with that, we do want to work with with communities where depending on your needs and depending on the situation, where we can look at various different options. And then going to your second question, Carl, on if we have one client in an area versus 100 or 500. No, we don't have a minimum. We work within the cities that we operate in, and we do have clients who are separate from one-off, separate from everyone else. So we never, as long as they're in the cities that we work in, and that's Broomfield, Denver, Westminster, Boulder County, we will work with them. We'd never say no. You live too far out of our our client base, so to speak. So we do offer that ability to allow everyone in those communities to be a part of our program.
Cool. Well, I love everything that you guys have described. I love your passion for what you're doing. And then the added elements of the community involvement and the educational component is so incredibly important. And so, have you spoken with our association management, DMB, Community Life? Because if you haven't, I definitely need to make some introductions there and see where we could take this. So
no, we have not spoken to them, but we'd really appreciate that. Thank you, Carl.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, I don't mean to monopolize, just one other question. And then you also work with commercial tenants as well. I can't remember if that was part of it. Okay, good.
Correct. Yes. So right now we're mostly working with coffee shops down in Denver. And with obviously coffee grinds is a great source for composting material. So that's one business that we all work, or business sector that we're working with. The others are, restaurants are obviously another one, because they go through a lot of both compost material and recyclable material. So yeah, we definitely love working with business and commercial.
Well, I love the idea of the composting and ending up the trash is generated in our community, goes to the composting, and then we bring it back in. I know the Butterfly Pavilion is going to have use for it. We're going to have use for it in all these garden ways that we're doing. So that would be an interesting way of maybe a little bit of what Sheila was talking about of the circle of it.
Yeah.
I just want to add something extra that with your commercial question, Carl. It's not just a business calls us up and they say, "Hey, I want to do composting." We say, "Sure, this is how much it's going to be." We'll do what we call a trash audit, which I'm pretty sure is a common term out there. So, we'll go in, we'll sit down with you, we'll discuss your needs. What are you after? What are you looking for? What's your budget? And we'll tailor a program around that. So a lot of businesses are starting up, or a lot of businesses have been hard hit during COVID, and they just don't have extra cash floating about. So it's a give and take for both us and the business. We want to work with you because we want to divert your trash away from the landfill. And obviously we want it to go to the correct place. So we'll look at everything and we'll propose a custom plan for you. There's not one plan that's the same for every single business. Coffee shops look very similar, because it's just a, the same process throughout the coffee making, but we really want to sit down with you, and we want to talk to you. We want to get to know you. We want to get to know your business needs. We want to get to know why you started the coffee shop. Like, we want that relationship with a business as well as, a single family owner or an apartment owner. So, we delve a little bit deeper to get you to know you, so we can give you the best possible proposal.
Thank you.
I do see another question here. It's from a while ago. Sorry, I've just seen it now. Cost per week. It's so we do cost per month. Your recycling only is $29.99 a month, and that obviously includes your single stream recycling as well as your plastic recycling. Your composting only is $24.99. Composting with plastic bag add-on, so that'll be your bin, and then just collecting all your plastic bags and plastic film separately. That's $29.99. And then if you want to do both, so the whole package is $44.99. And this is all per month. And the prices we've just given you there are individual household rates. So if someone just wanted to sign up for their house, that would be the rate. Or commercial or group rates, HOAs, businesses, etc., we'll work with you to provide a custom proposal. So like Park 40, I know Ross mentioned it earlier, we just submitted our proposal to them last week. So yeah, it just looks different to whatever they want and whatever they're looking for.
Awesome, guys. Well, it's about 8:15. Do we have any more real questions for these guys?
Hi guys, I just want to ask one other question. Are you guys outsourcing like a marketing company or anything like that for like educational purposes and like graphic design and flyers or things, magnets, etc.? Just curious.
Yes, so we are currently working with a company that does our marketing for us, our flyers, and helping putting together these presentations, etc. So yes, to answer that, we are working with a company that does that for us, and we also have not internal; it's all outsourced.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was just curious because I know education is such a big piece of this. Like, you want your consumers of your service to be doing it the right way. And I just was wondering like how you guys have taken that approach, because I know just within our own group, we try to brainstorm like different video ideas, or like we have social media, etc. So just wondering how you guys take an approach of educating the people that are using your service.
Yeah, I think especially with like social media and online platforms, you have to catch someone's attention pretty quickly. Yeah, I think what I do best is I like to just talk to someone, talk to me. We can talk this out, like I don't touch anything with the social media or the online marketing, but I appreciate the people who do it for us and, who help us. But yeah, I mean, like Ross and I are pretty much accessible like all the time. We work around the clock, and we have people texting us and being like, tea bags, yes or no? And it's just a quick little blast. I would rather they text us or call us or send an email than throwing it away. So I guess it's the cost of, trying to do this right.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, everyone go follow them on Instagram. They have an Instagram page, NextUse Recycle and Compost. It looks awesome. So
thank you.
Thank
a
you.
little plug.
I may have to circle back on that comment about meat and bones, because I thought that those were non-compostable. So that's awesome if you've got a venue for that.
So all commercial composting that goes to the like commercial facility, they accept things like meat and bones and the compostable plastics and stuff like that. It's backyard compost bins that you really can't put that kind of stuff in. So as long as it's being sent to a commercial facility, most of that stuff is usually accepted.
Ah, I see the difference. Okay, thank you for
Yeah.
that.
Thank you.
All right, anything else from anybody? All right, well, thank you
Well,
guys so much. Yeah, Stephen, did you have something?
No, I just wanted to say thanks to everyone for listening and hearing us out. You know, we love talking about this. We'll talk to absolutely anyone we genuinely want to help with. We're just not, you know, we're not some distant company who just doesn't want to hear anything about it. You know, we actually care. So thanks again to everyone for listening, and thanks for having us here. This has been
Thank you very much.
an amazing platform, and I was interested to hear the presentation before us. So win-win.
Nice. All right, I'd love to take a screenshot if people want to just turn on their cameras real quick. Our little meeting here before everybody's gone. All right, couple more people. Anybody else? All right, everybody smile. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, guys. All right, thanks everybody who came tonight. This has been wonderful. We will send up a follow-up email with links to the Pollinator District and stuff and the NextUse program, and so everybody can connect with them if you have any other questions or anything. So thank you again, guys, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Bye.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye. Thanks again, guys. Good job.